think this job is going to end me. It's one of those jobs where it makes me wish I never took it on. So today I'm actually stepping completely out of my area. I've come up to Dunstable near Luton to do a power flush in the system. So backstory is the customer, I've done some work for him before at one of his rental properties down in Grays in Essex, which is an area that I cover. He's had a new system put in, all new pipework, all new radiators, but the boiler is just full of dirt. He's had glowworm out to clean it, and they pulled out the little strainer that comes inside the boiler, and he sent me a picture of it, just full of black muck, like solid chunks. So I asked him when they did the install, when they did all the heating system, if there was a mains flush or any sort of flush done prior to fitting the boiler, which he said there wasn't. So I'm guessing that the radiators that they fitted, obviously radiators when they're made and when they're manufactured, they're water tested, etc. So there's going to be a little bit of water left inside them. So depending on how long they're in transit, how long they're sitting at the merchants before it finally gets sold to a customer, it's probably corroded a little bit of the inside. So I always recommend whenever you're fitting a new radiator, just flush it out quickly before you actually fit it. It just prevents this sort of thing from happening. So because he's got a glowworm boiler there, it's got the glowworm advanced filter, and I managed to pick up the filter accessory, the flushing adapter, from one of my colleagues. So I'm going to go straight onto the flushing adapter. I'm going to be flushing in one direction only, the normal way that the boiler will normally circulate. And I've advised the customer that normally I wouldn't advise flushing through a brand new boiler, but considering this boiler looks like it's already got dirt in it already, I don't think it's going to make things any worse, and he's still got the warranty on it anyway. So if other components do fail because of off the back of the flushing process, he can get that sorted from the manufacturer. So let's get in, let's get set up. I'll show you what it looks like. I haven't seen anything. I'm literally going in blind, so you guys are going to see everything that I'm seeing for the first time as well. Let's crack on. Right, here we are. So got unloaded the power flush machine just in the living room at the moment. We've got all designer rads everywhere. So there's 10 radiators of this sort of style. I'll just take you guys upstairs and I'll show you where we're going to be setting up the power flush machine. So the boiler, it's actually a combi boiler, which they're using as a system boiler. So they've got an unvented cylinder. So it's up here in the loft space. So I need to get the power flush machine up here. And that's where the boiler is. So it's a glowworm compact combi, like I said, which they're using. Oh, it's very tight up here. Being 6'2" doesn't really help my situation. But that's the glowworm advanced filter, so I'm going to take that off. I've got the flushing adapter to go straight onto there. Luckily, I've got a lever valve here for the cold feed to the boiler, so I'm going to turn that off, pop that bit of pipe out, and then put my hose pipe straight onto there with a little bit of copper pipe and a nut and olive, and use that to fill up my machine. Probably going to just move these 2 rolls of loft insulation out the way, set up the machine there. I'm out of breath just walking up the stairs. Whew. But yeah, so plan is to set the power flush machine up just there, go straight onto there, and then flush through the boiler in one direction, in the natural direction that the boiler will be flowing the water anyway, and then we'll just see how much dirt we can pick up. I think the one thing I am going to invest in after this is the longer hoses for my power flush machine. That way, if I've got a job like this, I haven't got to worry about lugging it up the stairs. I can leave it downstairs or outside or something and just run the long hoses up to here or wherever I'm going to be working. So let's get the power flush machine up here, get it all set up, and then we'll carry on filming. Okay, so taking the cold feed off of there, we've actually got really good flow rates. So power flush machine is up here. I couldn't get the bung tank or the tub, so the loft hatch, that was a bit too wide, but the power flush machine fit through. I've just got to make sure I keep an eye on it so it doesn't overflow, otherwise that's going to be a problem. Luckily, where I've extended my heater cable, I've managed to run that all the way downstairs, so that's now heating up, so it's plugged into the room downstairs. The actual power flush pump cable, there's a couple of plug sockets here, extension lead, so I'll plug it into there. So I'm just letting that heat up at the moment. I'm going to get the rest of the bits up here, which is basically just the magnets and the hoses that I need. Got enough space here to go onto there. However, whilst I've been having a look around here, I've noticed something which is actually pretty dangerous, I'd say.
So I've got an unvented cylinder, no cylinder stat. So they haven't fitted a cylinder stat here. The customers told me that they've left this cable here, and he's shown me he's got the cylinder stat downstairs, but they never bothered to wire it in, and I don't know why, but that's obviously not safe because now you've got no control over the temperature of the hot water in here. Obviously you've got control to a certain degree because the boiler's only going to heat it up to whatever the boiler's been set to, but still it's not right. So I'm going to wire that in whilst this power flush. You shouldn't tempt to know, especially if that's the right cable for it. Then it should just be a case of common, it's on an S plan, so common and 1 or 1 and 2, whatever. So it's just 2 wires and earth, so that should be fine. Other than that, so on the cylinder return, instead of putting a balancing valve, they just put a lever valve there and left it half open or partially closed, just to allow it to retain more heat. But should have just put a proper balancing valve in there whilst they were at it. Other than that, there's not really much I can say that's wrong really about the install. I could have done a bit better, but hey, everyone works in different ways. But the cylinder stat, that's a real big no. It should be one there. Other than that, I'm going to let this heat up. So the boiler's still running at the moment. Now the customer has pre-dusted the system a couple of days ago, so I advised them to get some chemical, add it in, so that by the time I get here it will give the system some time to circulate. And he said that it's not been locking out since he's added the chemical in, so it sounds like it's working and it's already starting to break the dirt down inside. I'm going to add some more chemical in when I'm flushing today, and I'm going to start isolating all the radiators individually and then flush them out individually as well until the water runs clear, and then we should have a nice clean system and no more problems. And if they do, they've still got warranty on this boiler, so they can get glow them out to replace any other parts that they need. Okay, so I'm pretty much set up. So I've got the magnets there, got the power flush machine there. It's sitting at around 50 degrees at the moment, so got about another 10 degrees until that green light goes to red, and then we can start flushing. This is the Glowworm power, it's called the power flush and fill port accessory. So it's now that they've got their own advanced filters, they've created their own flushing adapter for it. So some people tried to use the Spirotech flushing adapter, but it doesn't fit. And they've recently, I think was it this year or last year? I think it's maybe been about a year. They brought out their own flushing adapter. So the way this goes on is you've got shows you on the picture there how it goes on. Basically that just slots into the center there. And one good thing about these is it's actually got arrows to give you the direction of the flow, because on the Spirotech adapter it doesn't give you the arrows, so you kind of have to look inside and work out which ways your inlet and outlet, but this one is clearly marked on it, so that goes in there. And what this little tube does, it just allows the direction of the flow to be correct, otherwise you're just going to get circulation just around that bit and it's not going to go anywhere. So this actually allows it to go in through the filter and then out from this bit and then come out and then carry on. So I'm just gonna wait for that to heat up. In the meantime, I'll start draining the filter side out, get this attached, get the hoses connected on, and while we're flushing I'll wire up the cylinder stat as well. Right, so that's all connected up. So just to show you, so I've got the arrow coming back this way, so that's returning from the system, going down into the magnets, goes through there, up, round there, into the power flush machine, circulates through there, so that catches the dirt primarily and stops it from returning back into the system. Then it comes out of the power flush machine from that hose there, which is this one here, so that comes around there, and then that goes into the system. And right, it looks like the power flush machine is up to temperature, so let's add some X800 into there and get the system running. Okay, so the power flush is running, the boiler detects that there's a bit of pressure in there. So it was an issue showing F22 because it was on zero pressure, but with the power flush machine running, it's obviously making it seem like there's pressure inside it. I've opened up the heating zone valve down there. So now we've got heat circulating around the heating system. These hoses are warm. So that's our flow going in. So that's obviously a lot hotter, returns a little bit cooler. I actually haven't got my thermal imaging camera with me today either, which doesn't help because I've lent it to a colleague of mine. But yeah, we'll see. I'm just gonna have to do it by touch. Other than that, power flush machine is running. That's still sitting at about 50 degrees, which is fine. Yeah, system's only just started running, so it's not picking up a load of dirt just yet. So I'm going to let that run for about half an hour because it's already been running throughout the whole system before when the customer pre-does the system. So I'm going to let it run for half an hour and then start isolating the radiators individually. And in the meantime, let's get the cylinder start wired in. Okay, so I've just traced this cable back. What makes this even more dangerous is that if you turn the hot water on from there, that's going to be live. So we've just got a live cable hanging there. Traced it back to here. So it's this cable here. It's not been earthed because the earth is just sitting free over there. I'll just get my knee up into here. The grey is corresponding to that brown, which is going to the hot water zone valve here. And then you've got the black, which is going to be going to the hot water on from the programmer. So what I need to do is the black on here, that's going to go to the common on the cylinder stat, and then the grey is going to go to the cool on the cylinder stat. So I'm going to make sure that this is dead at the moment because obviously everything's dead on there. And no, actually that will be live because, will it? No, it won't be live. I'll test it anyway before I do any work on it and then go from there. So that's the cylinder stat wired in. So we've got the black, which is our common, so that's coming from our programmer as hot water on. We've got our cool, which is our grey. So once the cylinder stat clicks on, that will send a signal to the wiring center, which will link to the brown wire for the hot water zone valve, which is that one there. That will motor over, hit the micro switch, send the power down to the orange, which will then fire the boiler to heat up the cylinder. And now at least there'll be some control over the cylinder, and it's not just going to be heating up to whatever temperature it decides it wants to be. It's actually going to be controlled by cylinder stat. So I'm going to pop that back in, pop the power back on, and I'm going to show you guys a little trick to get this boiler to think that there's pressure in it. Stay tuned. Right, here's a little trick. I'm going to show you how to make this boiler think that it's got pressure in the system. Obviously it's a glowworm, which has got the same pressure sensor as a Valent. Now it's a little bit awkward to get the pressure sensor lead off of there. I managed to get it off there. So now what I'm going to do is I've got this old pressure sensor, put a screw in it. We're going to plug it in. We're going to turn the power back on. And then when the boiler tries to fire, I'm going to wind the screw in. And it's going to make the boiler think that there's pressure in the system. And it will cause it to fire. So I've just got to do it in a way that I can get it out easily again afterwards as well. So right, that's plugged into there. Let's pop that sort of about here. Right, the power's on. So it's showing 0 bar at the moment, as you can see. Right, let's pop the heating demand on there as well, so the diverter moves into heating position. And now all I've got to do here is wind this in, and it should start reading some pressure. Oh, so it's still showing. It's still showing 0 bar. Maybe it doesn't work on this one. It's worked with me before. Ah, there we go. So you have to wind it in quite a fair bit. So Just give that a second. It sounds like it's going through its ignition sequence. Okay, so it's not worked for me this time for some reason, but I've done it before on valence and other glowworms and it's worked fine. I don't know if they've changed something inside here which actually makes it think that you can't trick it, or maybe that pressure sensor is a little bit knackered and it's just not allowing me to. Oh, hang on, here we go. We've got flame now. Happy days. There we go, I spoke too soon. Okay, so that's running. The half an hour for me to, let me tilt this back up again. The half an hour that I'd set to circulate the whole system is finished now. So, and now I'm going to go downstairs and start isolating radiators one by one and do each radiator for 5 minutes at a time and then move on to the next one. Right, just to show you the colour of the water, you can see it's not so bad at the moment. It's a bit murky, but nothing to shout home about. So let's go and start isolating some radiators and then see if we can pick up any more dirt out of the system. I'm not expecting a load because they are new radiators, but it just may be that collectively all that dirt has just got picked up inside the boiler. But let's see. Okay, so we're on the upstairs radiators now. Still not a great deal of dirt that's coming into the reservoir. But like I said, because it is a new system, I'm not expecting there to be loads. We might have some picked up in the magnets there, but yeah, I'm not expecting there to be loads of dirt in the system. Then the stat is all wired up. I think I mentioned that already. You know what happens when you're power flushing, you start to lose track of time, start to lose track of what you've been doing, and then you start repeating yourself. So probably repeating myself again. But yeah, I just went to open the tower rail valves in the bathroom and somebody's done a stinky. Oh man, but yeah, such a beautiful day today and I'm stuck in here in this loft just sweating something off, let's just put it that way. I'm gonna let this carry on, gonna have a bit of lunch and then we've got I think only 3 more radiators left and then I can start dumping. So have my lunch, let these final 3 radiators get done and then we'll start dumping the system and then we'll check, see how dirty the magnets are. Okay, so finish circulating all the radiators, isolating them individually and doing all that jazz. The water in here is pretty much still the same color as what you guys saw before, so it's not overly dirty. Let's open up these magnets. I'm not expecting a great deal, like I said, because they're new radiators, I'm not expecting a lot, but I just think whatever dirt was probably in the radiators has got clogged up inside the boiler. Let's have a look. Yeah, see, it's not a lot, but underneath at the bottom here, it's like bitty stuff, like proper little chunks. So obviously the waterways inside the boiler are going to be a lot more narrower than what they are compared to 15 or 22 mil pipework. So yeah, not too bad. I'm just going to take a quick photo for the customer as well because he's downstairs. So yeah, I'm just gonna get this cleaned up and then we'll start dumping. Okay, so I've got my ISO valve, lever valve, filling up the machine and dumping at the same time. I am having a bit of difficulty because this for some reason keeps getting kinked and squashed, so it's restricting the dump rate. But let's go down and have a look at it. This is the only other thing. Once I get the longer hoses for the power flush machine, I won't have to do this because I've got to keep an eye on how quickly it's dumping, make sure it doesn't overflow and stuff. But I've got the hose currently running through here, out this window, and then down into the gully down there. So let's go and see what the water quality is like. Okay, so it's dumping at a fairly decent rate. I mean, it could be faster because it's got a kink in that hose there. Let's just get turbidity tube in there. Okay, I don't know how clear this will come up on camera, but that is crystal clear. So I'm happy with that. Now I'm ready to move on to the next radiator. Right, I'm just keeping an eye on that reservoir. Yeah, it's about halfway full. So finally got the balance of keeping the cold feed open and the dump rate so that the level in the reservoir doesn't go too low or doesn't overfill. So let's just go and turn off one of the radiators because one of them is clean now, and let's open up the next one and see how it looks. So yeah, that's all done. Let's turn this one off. Okay, and then let's open up this one, and then we'll go downstairs and we'll see. Ooh. That sounded powerful. Let's go and have a look. Okay, so we should see the colour of the water coming out of here change, so it's really getting a bit darker as it's flushing through that radiator. Let's see if it gets much darker than that. Like I said, they're fairly, there you go. Yeah. Oh wow, that is a lot darker than I thought it would be coming out. Well, at least it's doing the job properly then, and we know that it's circulating through all the radiators and properly flushing them through. Good thing is, because they are new radiators, they're not taking ages to clear out. I mean, just in that time, that's already cleared up a considerable amount. Let's check with the turbidity tube. It's probably not going to be clear enough yet. Almost. I reckon another couple of minutes and that should be clear. So yeah, that's basically the process. Every radiator, shutting one off, open another one, let it run clear until I can see the X in the turbidity tube, then move on to the next radiator until we get to the last one. Okay, so the power flush is all finished. Every radiator is coming out nice and crystal clear water. You can see the X at the bottom of the turbidity tube from every radiator. Now I've got the long task of clearing all this up. Need to get the wet back up here, clean up the magnets. Then I'm probably going to siphon the rest of the water out the power flush so that I'm not then having to carry a whole big tub of water. I mean, it's already down to the bottom anyway, but the last dregs I'm just going to siphon out from downstairs. I'll run the hose down out the window or something like that. But yeah, I think going forward, I'm going to order the extended hoses for the power flush machine. So if I've got a situation like this, I can put the machine somewhere downstairs where it's a little bit more accessible and then just run the long hoses up to wherever I need to go. Because yeah, trying to get this up and down on my own as well is not fun. But let's have a little clear up. All right, typical, where the boiler is the highest point, it's got airlocked. I've run it through its purge program, fires up for about 30 seconds. I can hear it already starting to overheat and it goes out. I'm getting heat coming out the flow, but returns stone cold. So put a washing machine hose on the bottom of the filter. I'm going to call the customers downstairs because the filling loop's not even up here. It's downstairs in the cupboard under the stairs. Get them to top up the pressure and try and draw the air through there. Hopefully that'll sort it out. As soon as I get some heat coming through there, that should fire up and, well, stay fired up. Other than that, everything is all packed up here, all tied up. Just trying to get rid of this airlock. Fingers crossed it doesn't take too long. I think this job is going to end me. It's one of those jobs where it makes me wish I never took it on. The boiler will just not stay lit. Main heat exchanger keeps kettling. I've tried a number of things. I'm not sure if it's just air in the main heat exchanger. I've purged it, run through the P codes and everything. I've even made up a little filling loop up here. So I've just gone off the lever valve there with the washing machine hose onto the filter. I had the butterfly valve locked off on the other side, had that open, zone valve open, and a drain off open downstairs to try and push any air that could have been trapped inside the main heat exchanger out, but it's still not doing it. So, I mean, the boiler's still under warranty. I did explain to the customer that obviously if the power flush causes further problems to the components inside the boiler, you're still covered under warranty and you just have to get Glowworm out to investigate it. Now, I'm not entirely sure whether by flushing through the boiler it's blocked up the main heat exchanger or if it's just a really, really bad airlock. I'm trying. I've been at it for about an hour and a half so far. I'm going to keep trying for a little bit longer. Right, boiler is finally staying on. There's still some air in the system because I can hear it running around, but you can tell by the sound of my voice, I just feel absolutely defeated today. Finally getting some heat, so flow, return, finally getting a bit of heat coming back on there. That was all stone cold before, so at least I know it's circulating. Just got to let all that air basically get out of the system. But I don't know how long that's going to take, but at least it's running, so it will eventually work its way out. I could hear the AAVs going again as well. So I think it was an airlock in the heat exchanger. I managed to clear it, and I just got to let the system just basically just continue running, and that should get rid of the rest of the air in the system. The radiators downstairs are starting to get warm, so I'm going to leave it on, let the customer know to just keep it on a low temperature and let the air work its way out. But I am absolutely defeated by this one. It's taken me probably 2.5 hours to try and clear this airlock. The power flush was done, yeah, hours ago. So I'm signing out, guys.